What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Did y'all see that? What?
Let's just throw Scream 6 in there for like
It was good.
movie. It was really good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion, since the first one.
Yeah. Mardi Gras Mambo, Mambo. That's right, y'all. It's Mardi Gras weekend. Oh boy. And even more so, we're super excited because if you're a superhero fan or a comic book fan, this episode of ITCAFpodcast is for you. We've got news about Daredevil Born Again, the Green Lantern series, and then James Gunn's DC Universe moving forward. He's trying to lay out like a nice little map for all of us to see what his vision is. And of course, we have so much more in this week's industry news segment. Dustin, how you feeling about everything?
Well, my steadfast son-in-law and co-host, I will say this to you. In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. But the ring might. Where is it? Is it there? Can we see it? I don't know. I've got so many thoughts about the DC universe and how it's moving forward. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly, but we're going to talk about it. But I am excited on the flip side to the Marvel universe because everything we're seeing coming out of Daredevil Born Again is nothing but stellar. Haven't seen any bad reviews. The critics love it. The fans love it. We know season 2 is starting. We're getting some casting stuff for season 2 already. Just stellar. I love everything about that. So I'm super pumped. And of course, it's the Oscars. It's Oscar weekend. How can we not be pumped about Oscar weekend in our industry? It's the big show, boys and girls. And it's going to be a fun one and unpredictable. Unpredictable. We don't know, but we're excited about it, right? So overall, my friend, I'm feeling pretty good.
Fantastic. It's always good to hear, man. It's always good to hear. It's going to be a great freaking show. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the 3 biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching non-stop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness, we're back with episode 286 of ITCAFpodcast. And you guys know your host with the most, myself, J. Logan Austin, and the one and only Dustin and Bergman, aka The Mouth.
What's up?
Man, oh man, we're super excited. Of course, we have so much great stories to tell you from the industry news this past week, like we just teased. But of course, we do have an amazing top 5 segment that we've been promoting for about 2 weeks now. And that is childhood films, films that meant something to us when we were growing up. And man, oh man, if you didn't know, there's a little bit of an age gap. So there's going to be a difference in the type of movie. And I just need more coffee. It's fine. It's fine. It's Mardi Gras weekend, so I'm feeling a little crazy, man. I'm feeling a little crazy. But before going into the rest of the show, of course, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast. Comment below and tell us what you actually think about this show, because leaving a rating, a like, a share, anything like that actually helps this podcast get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who love and are trying to break into the entertainment industry. Us here at Crazy Ant Media are all about lending the helping hand, so that's what we're trying to do here with our podcast and with our voice, man. Oh man. But of course, be sure to visit our website as well, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got a little bit of something for a little bit of everyone, so be sure to check that out. New merchandise available right now, so like I said, be sure to check it out and tell us what you actually think about it, because, you know, we like to play with different designs, and sometimes some are better than others. So
people like it, from what I understand.
Yeah, exactly. But everybody knows this past week was kind of crazy when it comes to deaths in Hollywood. So we're going to report on some. And of course, we're starting off with some somber news about Gene Hackman and, of course, his wife and his dog. They obviously, we all know Gene Hackman from The French Connection, Unforgiven, Hoosiers. His wife, who was a classical pianist, and their dog were found dead Wednesday afternoon in their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. The office of the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department and the sheriff himself, Adin Mendonza, has confirmed their deaths. There is no immediate identification of foul play per the authorities, though the sheriff's department did not immediately provide a cause of death. Now, Hackman was 95, and Arkawa, I apologize if I butchered that. Gene Hackman's wife, was 63.
This is a tough one, obviously, and like further down the show in our top five, this guy was a big thing for me in my childhood. And this is a tough one. This is a legend, and had been out of the limelight for quite a while now. The last few years. He retired several years back, but beloved actor, and it's always tough. And there's I saw a lot of tributes coming out from everybody, everybody talking about him and what he meant to the industry, and his wife and their marriage and the quality of that marriage and how she really kind of took care of him and kept him healthy over the years. I mean, 95, that's a really long life. I will say this, and you and I have talked about it, there's a lot of speculation out there about his and her death and the dog's death and what did or did not happen. We will not do that. We will not discuss that. We will say that when we have facts and we know what happened, we will give you guys an update. But for right now, we just want to mourn the loss and condolences to the family and all of the friends and colleagues. And like I said, a legend, and that's a tough one to take. Yeah, so we lost a legend from your era as well. Another shocker, and this time not a very long life, unfortunately so, just 39 years old. Michelle Trachtenberg, best known, of course, for film and television roles, including Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was also found unconscious and unresponsive on Wednesday in her Manhattan apartment, and according to the New York City Police Department. Now, according to the New York Post, she had recently undergone a liver transplant. Trachtenberg's cause of death has been called undetermined. Her family has denied and does not want an autopsy, so that is the end of that story. We will not know what the cause of death was out of respect to her family. Again, though, this is another big one. This was a huge star for millennials, and anybody who was a fan of Buffy and Gossip Girl. I mean, you kind of grew up with her. I mean, she was everywhere during that time frame, and unexpected. 39 years old. It's so tragic when it's so young. 39.
Yeah, it is absolutely terrifying too. And then we also had a third one, Roberto Orsi. He is a writer-producer who worked on some of the biggest action, adventure, and sci-fi movies and television shows for the last 2 decades. He died in his home in Los Angeles after a battle with kidney disease. He was 51. Now, Orsi was the co-writer and producer on 2009 Star Trek movie reboot and its 2 sequels, as well as 2007's Transformer movie and the 2009 follow-up Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Now, on the television side, Orsi is the co-creator and executive producer of CBS's Hawaii Five-0 reboot, and of course Fox's Fringe and Sleepy Hollow. He also worked on ABC's Alias and CBS's Scorpion. So a lot of big names passed away this past week in Hollywood, and our thoughts and prayers go out with all the families, all the loved ones. Yeah. Condolences to everybody. And once we have more information about other cases, of course we'll report on that. But right now we're just gonna leave it as moment of silence type thing, where you can reminisce and be thankful for the art and the legacy that they did leave behind.
Absolutely. And no doubt we will see the tributes on Sunday. No doubt. All right, let's jump on over to our big fave. You guys know we love the Mouse House, and we're starting it off there. And as we said at the top of the show, guys, the 97th Annual Academy Awards air this Sunday. And the biggest question, other than who's going to win, is, do people even care? I mean, that's the question, right? Well, apparently advertisers think so, and they're putting their money behind their belief in that. With the Oscars slated to stream live on Hulu for the first time alongside the regular broadcast on ABC, Disney announced an official sellout of all commercial inventory tied to the event, including TV, streaming, social media, and more. Now, that's quite impressive because, are you guys ready? They were charging $1.7 to $2.3 million for 30-second spots. No joke, guys. 1.7 to 2.3 million for 30-second spots during the TV broadcast. Now, a lot of people bought up on it, and some of the top sponsors willing to pay that money during the Oscars were Rolex. They've supported the show now for 8 years in a row, as well as Prudential and T-Mobile. So, and there was a whole list of them, but that's impressive, and that's a good sign. You know, at least a lot of people are thinking that we're going to see a little bump in the ratings and maybe see a bigger audience, right? So I hope so, man. I'm pulling for Conan. I love Conan, and I'm really hoping he delivers a solid performance, and we can get some uptick in viewers, man. Come on! We love the movies!
I know, I'm still in the boat of I don't think it's going to be good for the Oscars this year. There's no massive, big tentpole movie besides Wicked that will draw in people.
That's true.
Just because Ariana and Cynthia are going to have a segment in the Oscar ceremony where they sing, I don't think that it's going to draw in a lot of people. I remember, I forget when, but I think I said that it's going to be the lowest ratings for the Oscars in the past, probably 5 years, I would say. Just because, like I said, there's a lot of these films out there that a lot of people just haven't seen. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm hoping. I would love to be wrong. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love the Oscars and I love the industry, but I would be very interested to see how that's going to go moving forward.
I'm also very interested to see what the singing segment is, because they've already announced that none of the songs that are up for original, so they're not performing. So I'm wondering, well, what is this little singing segment then that they're going to be doing? I guess Conan did say there'd be some surprises, though, so who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, other than Ariana and Cynthia singing, do not know. But after a strong $100 million start over the extended President's Day holiday frame, of course I'm talking about Captain America Brave New World, it did remain in the first place at the box office this past weekend, or its second weekend, with $28.3 million. Now, that is from 4,100 North American screens. But I will say it is not all sunshine and rainbows for this film, because that is a 68% drop-off for the Anthony Mackie-led superhero adventure, which has generated so far $141 million domestically and $289.4 million worldwide to date. Now, Captain America did cost north of $180 million before marketing. Do you still think this was a good pick for your box office draft?
I do.
Because you had it on your one.
I do. It's going to be number one again this weekend. There's nothing really open in that. And we'll see another significant drop. There's no doubt about it. But this was not the worst Marvel drop in its second weekend. It was comparable with some of the other Captain America movies as far as what the drop was. And I will say this. It's gonna break 500 million. It will go over 500 million worldwide, and it will be profitable. They will not lose money on this one. It's already getting close to becoming profitable. Probably, if not this weekend, then midway through next week, it will become profitable for them. It's not going to go on to make $1 billion. It's just not. It's not that type of a movie. But it will. Like I said, I think Marvel is only hoping and needing it to be profitable and have a little bit of legs until the next big movie comes out, which I think this one is going to do. And I'm okay with $500 million. I'm fine with that. That'll play well into my draft and scorecard. I think that'll do well. But this is what it is. If you look at all of the origin movies from the MCU throughout all of the 37, 38 films that they've had, none of those crossed the $1 billion mark. None of the origin ones did. So this is right in line and where it should be, in my opinion. The one
I
I'm
don't know if you can
curious
consider
about.
that one an origin film, though,
Well,
right?
it's
Because
an
I mean,
origin
I
of,
feel like that's what the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show is supposed to be.
but we know because of audience turnout here that a lot of people didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier
Oh yeah,
because
for
so
sure.
to many people that went and saw it, it was his origin story of becoming Cap. My thing is though is that the one I'm really worried about that I'm curious to see how it will perform is Thunderbolts, because if you didn't watch any of the Marvel television series, right? Hawkeye or any of the and you only caught Black Widow, you don't know who half these people are. And you're going to go into it and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It's one of the longest Marvel movies, and I just don't know how that's going to play. Because, the general audience will probably only know one or two of the characters in that movie. And then it's a 2 hour and 20-minute movie of people that they don't know. Will that play like a Guardians and do really well, or will it just completely bomb? That's the question. But I'm happy with my pick of Brave New World so far. I think will hold this weekend. It will drop, but it will hold this weekend, I think. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
There you go.
All right. You look like, yeah, we'll see. But I'm telling you, I feel pretty
Yeah,
confident.
I have no faith.
They can't all be number one picks, but I feel like this was a solid draft pick that will perform. Something that is performing, hands down, no doubt about it. This is going to be I am so excited about this. The first 2 episodes, and now I'm hearing all 9 episodes, apparently, of Marvel's Daredevil Born Again, were unveiled to members of the press this week, and the first reactions are great news for Disney Plus, y'all. Critics appear to love it and are saying that it lives up to the original Netflix series, but stands completely on its own as something more. Now, in case you've been living under a fucking rock, the official logline for Daredevil Born Again reads, Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer with heightened abilities, is fighting for justice through his bustling law firm, while former mob boss Wilson Fisk pursues his own political endeavors in New York. When their past identities begin to emerge, both men find themselves on an inevitable collision course. Now, here it is. Next week, guys. Next week. The series premiere on Disney Plus is March 4th. Yeah, I just, everything I've seen, this is basically, you've got Vincent and Charlie out there saying this is full on a continuation of the Netflix series. Even though it's its own series and we're calling it Born Again Season 1, it is most definitely a Season 4 of the original show. I've heard all kinds of things that we cannot confirm nor deny, like that the first episode, the first few minutes of the first episode takes place before the snap. And that the potential rumored death of either Foggy or Karen is due to the snap. And so that would be interesting if that's a true rumor. If that ends up being true, that would be really interesting. Because if you're a guy that can literally hear all the heartbeats in the world, what do you do if you're walking casually along the street and then just all those heartbeats start disappearing? And including one of your best friends next, that would, in my opinion, fuck you up. So I would imagine, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, but what I do know is it's going to be a massive hit for Disney Plus. Season 2 started filming today, and the rest of it kicks off next week. It's just, dude, it's exciting. I haven't heard a single person say a bad thing about this thing. I'm pumped.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's interesting too because Star Wars needs to do the same thing with it. They just need to focus on television shows to help get it back to what it once was in the theaters. And I think that's what Marvel is being able to do right now with Daredevil Born Again. So it's going to be very interesting. And they're also talking about bringing back the one and only Frank Castle, aka John Bernthal, for a Punisher special, which is absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. And he's going to, of course, return in Daredevil Born Again in season 1. But headlines for the Marvel special, which is set to be in the vein of Werewolf by Night.
Interesting.
Bernthal is co-writing the special alongside Renaldo Marcus Green, who is also set to direct. Now, this special will air in 2026, so no time soon, along with Daredevil Born Again Season 2. And I'm betting that in Season 1 of Daredevil, we're going to see and set up something for Frank Castle's special. But that's very exciting. Obviously, John Bernthal has been out there since day one that it got canceled over on Netflix saying, let me come back. I will definitely come back with Charlie and Vincent and everybody. So, yeah, I'm very excited about it because I definitely feel like putting the MCU on their back, on the television backs of Daredevil and Punisher, and honestly, a lot of other people that are coming into the MCU's television side, I think is a smart move because these are very established and popular characters already that can transition into the film side to where people can start going back to the theaters as well.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think this is the right move. This is the way to build excitement for the films, is to have stellar shows. I think that's why Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness did so well, because WandaVision was so popular and so it built up the excitement for that storyline with Wanda. So I think I'm right there with you. I think it's a smart move. Also, kudos to Disney and Marvel Studios because John Bernthal is like kicking it. He's everywhere right now. He's filming Odyssey, and I mean, he's got so much going on. So a commitment for a full season of Punisher probably wouldn't have been possible. But to say, hey, let's do a one-off special and keep you going in the universe, that's a smart move. And I love that he's going to be involved in the writing process because he's so committed to this character and getting him right. So that's going to be awesome. And you said that it was going to air alongside Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Well, we have some breaking casting news coming out today for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. And that is that Matthew Lillard is set to join the cast of the series, which heads into production today and next week. Now, character details, of course, are being kept under lock and key. Now, this news follows Marvel Studios' head of streaming television and animation, Brad Winderbaum's announcement that the studio is also actively exploring bringing back Krysten Ritter's Jessica Jones, Mike Coulter's Luke Cage, and Finn Jones' Iron Fist. All of whom, and we've talked about it here, have been rumored to potentially appear in Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. A lot of people thought because Krysten was in New York, if she was going to appear in Season 1, but she's there filming Dexter. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but there you go. She is not in Season 1, guys. But looks like maybe Season 2. We'll keep you. I'm excited about. I love Matthew Lillard and who's he's going to play. I'm curious. I'm like, ooh, who's he going to be in the MCU? That'll be interesting.
Right? It's all very exciting, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's all very exciting. Well, hopping off of Marvel and hopping on to Disney animation. Moana 2, the sequel, obviously, the Oscar-nominated film about a young Polynesian woman on the quest to break the ancient curse, will finally be available on Disney Plus on March 12th. Now, the film, of course, we've reported on, was initially supposed to be a television show for Disney Plus, but was revamped for a theatrical release. And of course, it was a very smart decision to do this because that film made $1 billion, more than $1 billion at the box office, and became the third highest grossing movie of 2024. So that was a definitely smart decision. Obviously, they're expanding the universe with making more live actions of Moana and, of course, other animated films. But we finally have a release date, March 12th, guys. If you have young kiddos out there wanting that Moana 2 feeling, well, just wait for that day, March 12th.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Let's move away from that feeling for the moment and over to Fox, where this was a no-brainer. That anybody could have seen this one coming. Fox has renewed its hit medical drama Doc for a full 22-episode season 2. just a few weeks before the season 1 finale on March 18th. Now, again, if you've been living under a rock, Doc stars Molly Parker as Dr. Amy Larson, a hard-charging and brilliant ex-chief of internal and family medicine who returns to work after a brain injury erases 8 years of her life. Now, Omar Mentwali, Ahamara Van, John Ecker, Anya Bangery round out the cast, while Scott Wolf and our buddy and former ITCAF guest Patrick Walker are recurring guest stars on Doc. Now, this thing airs Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern and streams on Hulu the next day, and it is a fantastic medical procedural drama. So if you haven't checked it out yet, highly recommend it. You'll be happy that you do. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, completely agree. I've only watched, I know there's like 7 or 8 episodes now, but I've only watched 6 of them, and 5 out of 6 I've cried.
Oh,
like
yeah,
it is
yeah.
so damn good, and we're hoping to have Patrick back on, and we're hoping to have other cast members from Doc on the show, and we actually have somebody scheduled, but we don't want to say anything else because we know how things work and scheduling conflicts and all that stuff. So hopefully nothing bucks up. So we're right there, man. We're right there. Well, now we're heading over to Warner Brothers Discovery, and I teased it a little bit earlier, and we saw James Gunn doing his James Gunn thing over social media and promoting the hell out of his DC universe. Of course, him and his partner Peter Safran announced that DC Studios is making some big moves with an ambitious content plan that includes 2 live-action films, 1 animated movie, and 2 live-action series, and then also 2 animated series per year for Max specifically.
Man, that's
and
a
if that
lot.
wasn't exciting enough, Gunn and Safran also confirmed that they are working towards a 6-year plan that will hopefully round out and culminate in kind of like an Avengers Endgame style event. While the details, of course, are being kept under wraps, we don't know shit. It's clear that DC Studios is laying the groundwork for something massive. Now, the executives also acknowledge that some projects on the initial DC slate that were unveiled back in January of 2023 have met challenges that have either delayed or killed them altogether. Now, all of you DC fans out there know that they're trying to stay on track, and us here at Crazy Ant Media and ITCAF Podcast have you covered. So here's the full lineup and recap of what is going on for DC Studios right now and kind of a time frame of when we can see them. Of course, the first thing that we will be seeing here in July, early July, will be Superman on July 11th of 2025, and that is Dustin's #1 pick on the box office draft, so hopefully it'll make a lot of money.
Yes, and then of course we've got Peacemaker Season 2. That one's coming to us in August of 2025.
That's right. And of course, they have the Sandman Season 2 also coming out some point in 2025. They're still trying to lock down a date for that one.
Yeah, because the creator's no longer involved for reasons we won't discuss. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is set for a June 26, 2026 release, and there's a lot of chatter about that one. It's already filming and people are talking, so we're going to keep you updated on that one.
For sure. And then we have Clayface coming out September 11th of 2026. As you see, we've finally moved into the new year. So 2026 is supposed to be a good year for DC. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for that as well.
Yes, and Daniel Radcliffe is not Clayface. They haven't even started casting yet. So all those rumors that he has been cast, he hasn't even been approached or talked to yet, y'all. Move on. That's an incorrect rumor. Next one we've got is Sergeant Rock. That one's going to come out in the fall of 2026, and there's been some casting stuff about that one too. Apparently Daniel Craig did pass. He was contacted and passed. Jeremy Allen White apparently is rumored to be, but hasn't officially been contacted yet, so we don't know whether he's in or out or has even seen the script. So as soon as we do know, we'll let you know. That sounds like a good choice for me too, instead of Daniel Craig. I'm fine with Jeremy Allen White if that is true, but we do not, and we will let you know.
Exactly, man, exactly. And then, of course, the much highly anticipated The Batman Part 2. Hopefully, because this thing's already been rescheduled once, it will come out October 1st of 2027.
Yes, and that's the good news. The bad news is, following up that announcement was the announcement of the dynamic duo, which will be an animated Robin origin movie. That one's coming out June 30th of 2028. Why is that good news and bad news? Well, we'll tell you in a second. But the bad news is that Robert Pattinson has been confirmed to not be the DCU Batman. Not going to happen. They are recasting him. They're still making Batman with Robert Pattinson, but they're recasting Batman in the DCU. There you go.
Well, we all know that James has been kept saying that is not going to be their Batman, so that makes sense. He's holding strong to that, even though we think that's a bad decision. And then, of course, the Lanterns television show that we finally got to see some stills from this past week. Right now, that's just in production. So the rest of the things we have on the slate to tell you about is just either in development or in production, because they have dreams. They want to shoot for the stars, but we all know that a lot of things can happen in between here and the galaxy far, far away.
Correct.
But yes, right now Lanterns is in production. No release date yet on that one.
Nope, not yet. The Brave and the Bold. That is apparently the movie that will introduce the new Batman into the DCU. That one's also in development.
Makes sense. And then, of course, Creature Commando Season 2 in development as well.
The Authority in development.
Swamp Thing, trying to revamp that bad boy. That one's in development.
Yep. Super excited about the announcement about this one. I'm all in on this. A live-action Teen Titans movie is in development. Hugely pumped about that. Has always been one of my favorite teams. Love them and the lineup that they're going to include in that movie. Love it. So, yeah, I'm pumped about that one.
Very cool, man. Very cool. And I also love something that DC is doing, but they're kind of trying to make it a part of their main timeline, which is, villain stories. So this one, they're going to be talking about Bane and Deathstroke in a movie together. I wonder if they're going to be adversaries or working together. This one isn't currently in development, but yeah, it releasing as a film is going to be very freaking interesting.
It really is. And then you've got Waller. They've been talking about this one forever, but apparently this one's stumbling a little bit, which is why it was put back into development. This thing was supposed to go into production already, but I guess it's because of Viola Davis's scheduling is making it very difficult to get this thing rolling. So, because as you guys know, she's in demand and very popular. So, we'll see. We'll see where that goes and if it goes at any point.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And then the Buster Gold television show is in development. I've heard this one is going to be more comedic based, so that would be very interesting.
Yeah, no, and should be, because I think that's kind of how the character is. So, Paradise Lost, that of course is talking about Amazon Island. That's going to be a Wonder Woman show. That one's still in development.
Then we have the Blue Beetle animated series that is in development as well.
Yeah. Oh, animated. I was going to say, if it was live action, I was wondering if we were going to see a crossover between Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, since they team up frequently in the comic books. Harley Quinn and other animated titles are still in development. I don't know what that means, because Harley Quinn's already on the air. So I don't know what that means about in development. I guess maybe they're going to spin somebody off of that? I don't know. James, what does that mean?
And then we also saw this past week, Keanu Reeves has been working on a Constantine 2 idea. So now they approached Peter Safran and James Gunn, and they said, yeah, let's see what y'all come up with. So the status is currently unknown of that. I think they're literally stage one. You have an idea, they're finally putting the pen to the paper. But I think that'd be cool, because I've heard nothing but good things about the Constantine film. I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely want to this year, and I would love to see where the character would go from there.
No, yeah, I liked the movie. I also liked the version of him in the Arrowverse. I think that DC's always pretty much gotten that character right. So, I'm excited to see what they do with that. And then we have Gotham PD Arkham TV series, which, as you guys know, that one's most likely never going to happen. As you guys know, that's what Matt Reeves was initially starting to do, was the Arkham, and then it shifted, moved, changed, morphed, call it whatever you want, but it became Penguin. And not anything anywhere near Arkham or the Gotham PD. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I don't think that one's ever going to happen. And as Logan said at the beginning of all this DC news, the upcoming Green Lantern TV show, Lanterns, DC Studios and HBO actually dropped a first look at Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler's, the main characters, of course, and heroes, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. Now, in the photo, the two are dressed in civilian clothes and are walking down a deserted highway. Now, while many are disappointed that we don't see them in their Green Lantern uniforms, if you look real close, you gotta look real close, you can see a Green Lantern ring on Chandler's finger, which of course is Hal Jordan. Now, a release date, as Logan said, for Lanterns has yet to be announced. We do know that the first appearance of a Green Lantern in James Gunn and Peter Safran's rebooted universe will be this summer's Superman movie when we see Nathan Fillion debut as Green Lantern Corps member Guy Gardner. So, I don't know how I feel about it. I saw the ring, I zoomed in, I looked, I got my magnifying glass, and it looks kind of like an old Earth artifact, like Egyptian almost kind of, and I'm like, but the power rings come from the Guardians from OA. They're not Earthbound. And so why would this ring look reminiscent of an old earthly artifact? So I'm a little, does it change to what it's supposed to look like when he gets in full gear? Or I'm not real sure, but I'm not sold on the look of the ring initially. I'm hoping that it changes. What were your thoughts? Did you see the picture? What did you think of the ring?
I saw the picture, didn't even see the ring. That's been just being honest with you. I'm like, yeah, look at them. They're in civilian clothes.
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
All right, go back
yeah.
and look for the ring and tell me what you think about the ring, because I'm not sold on it. I'm just not sold.
That's hilarious, man. That's so funny. Well, a couple weeks ago when we did top 5 romantic comedies, I had mentioned Crazy Rich Asians in my top 5 and how I loved it immensely and how quickly it got greenlit for a sequel. Well, I think they're kind of trying to reimagine some things with the Crazy Rich Asians franchise, because Max did announce a series adaptation for the Crazy Rich Asians that's currently in development. Now, Adele Lim, who co-wrote the 2018 film, has been set as the showrunner and executive producer, while director John M. Chu will also return to executive produce. Now, like the film, the TV project is based on Kevin Kwan's book series of the same name. So I think they're leaning less into the film side, more into the television side, which makes sense because, like I said, TV is blowing up right now, so everybody's trying to produce a lot of content for it. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see it actually be a film, but you know, if we're gonna get this, are we gonna get the old cast members back, or is it gonna be completely revamped and revitalized? But you know, if it is the same cast members, that is probably the best case scenario, at least for me, because I loved the original cast. So we'll see what happens.
No, same. I'm all in on the movie. I loved the cast. Now, I admittedly haven't read the book series, so I don't know if it's like there's other characters other than the ones that we saw that they could play out in the series, you know, or if it would just be the same focal characters that we saw in the movie. While I want to see a sequel, I agree with you. The story does kind of lend to a series, because I feel like you can go more in depth and more laid out in their lives, you know, in an extended version that you could get in a sequel, you know, more so in a series. So I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's going to work either way. It's just good content, and the people behind it are good. So I'm in. Let's jump on over to the Paramount, as you guys know. Season 48. Season 48 of Survivor kicked off this week, and I already know who I want to win. We were crying like babies, but we've got our favorites. But that's not the big news. Did you see? Have you watched it? Because during the Season 48 premiere, the 50th audition of Survivor had some news. That's right. It has apparently enlisted the help of a new tribe. You! the show's viewer, to help determine how the game will play out in season 50. Now, host and executive producer, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jeff Probst, announced this week that the CBS competition's 50th season, slated to air in February of next year, will be guided partly by votes from us. The show is calling the theme "In the Hands of the Fans" for the first time ever over its 20, what at that point, like 24, 25 years. Fans and viewers will be voting on certain elements of the season, including things like whether idols will even be a part of the game, if the Final Four's traditional fire-making challenge stays or goes. Because remember, if you guys remember way back in the first few seasons, that wasn't even a thing. That when you got to the Final Four, they just voted people out. There was no fire-making, like that wasn't even a thing. So, I don't know. And then, of course, whether or not to have the live finale and reunion show in Los Angeles like it used to be, or continue to do it on location in Fiji like they do now. Now, voting opened up, as I said, on Wednesday when the show debuted for the season 48 premiere of Survivor. I voted. I'm all in. I know what I want to see. So this is kind of cool, though, for the fans that have been around the whole 20-plus years. I think it's kind of cool to give them a shot at playing along, if you will.
Most definitely. Season 50, you got to go big or go home. That's for sure, man.
That's right.
That's for sure. Well, Paramount Plus reported this week that Season 2's premiere of Yellowstone's prequel, 1923, averaged about 5.4 million global viewers. Now, that is up 146% from year one, which was 2.2 million viewers. Now, the streamer also says that the opener marked the biggest original premiere in Paramount Plus's history. Now, results are based on international streaming data, of course, for premiere day, including CTV viewing, O&O's, Apple, Roku, and Amazon channels. Now, new episodes of 1923 will drop every Sunday exclusively on Paramount Plus. A lot of people were anticipating that a lot. 1923 seems to be going over very well, especially after the success of 1888 and then the original Yellowstone. So it's awesome to see, man.
Oh yeah, and it fills the void because the original Yellowstone's gone now. So you need that, and plus you're seeing Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's kids.
Yeah.
You're seeing how that whole journey played out. I will say, the premiere episode of season 2 was infinitely better than the initial pilot episode. I loved it. It's more intense, and yeah, they're all in. And Harrison Ford, God bless him, that man is still getting up on a horse and riding, and like there was no stunt double. That was Harrison. I'm like, damn, Harrison, go, all right. Hey, here's what I teased a little bit earlier, and now you know why she was in New York. Jessica Jones star Krysten Ritter has been tapped for a high-profile guest arc on not Daredevil Born Again, but Showtime's new drama series Dexter Resurrection, which chronicles a new chapter for Michael C. Hall's serial killer Dexter Morgan. Now, Ritter will recur as Mia LaPierre, a renowned sommelier who may be hiding a serial killer secret. So a wine expert that kills people? I'm all in. I love Krysten Ritter anyway, but if she's a wine expert and she kills people, I mean, come on! I think this is awesome. I think this is great casting. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out.
For sure, man. I mean, they're really choreographing and, culminating a lot of amazing talent for this show.
They really are.
I'm really excited to see what happens with it, that's for sure. Well, now we're heading over to NBCUniversal, where Zendaya has joined Shrek 5 as the daughter of Shrek, of course, played by Mike Myers, and Fiona, the mother, who is played by Cameron Diaz. She also joins Eddie Murphy, of course, the voice of Donkey.
Yes!
Now, Zendaya is also one of the most in-demand stars working today. Of course, you all know that, with her upcoming schedule including Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, Dune, Messiah, and the fourth Spider-Man film. And then, of course, Euphoria Season 3, which is currently in production.
Yes.
Now, her presence in Shrek 5 gives extra vibrance to the 25-year-old franchise that could help bring new audiences to the fold. Now, this film from Universal and DreamWorks Animation is set for December 23rd of 2026. Now, that is very freaking exciting. I don't know if it's going to add anything because this is a very family-driven film and kids, don't even put names together with the animated characters, so I don't think that's going to be that important, and I don't think Zendaya's name is going to draw more people to Shrek, but I do think this is very cool and going to be a fun experience to see these characters come back.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think people have been wanting another movie, one of these, for quite a while, and yeah, this is gonna make a lot of people happy. I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the fact that my baby girl, aka your wife, was one when this franchise started. What? 25 years ago? What the hell? How can it be that long since the first Shrek? Oh my God, where's time going? All right, jumping over, and this is exciting news. I'm super pumped about this because on last week's show, I literally asked Dick Wolf, NBC, where the hell is it? When is it coming back? Well, they kindly answered my question. We now know that Peacock has set an April 17th premiere date for the season 5 premiere launch of Law and Order Organized Crime. It is, of course, the first Law and Order show on Peacock and not on NBC since Criminal Intent, if you guys can believe that, which is just crazy to me. Now, along with the premiere date, Peacock released a brief teaser and several photos from the coming season. The log line for the season reads, and this one gets me pumped, Season 5 explores the dangerous worlds of cross-border smuggling, high-tech domestic terrorism, and a crime family intent on repaying Stabler for the injury he did to them in Rome. Now, as his worlds collide, Stabler will put everything on the line to protect the vulnerable and fight for justice. And they're certainly teasing that we will see Liv. And if you guys don't know, there was like a scene where they were like, and then didn't. Brushed off to the cheek, kind of. They said that it was originally written, it was supposed to be a kiss. What? So will we see the kiss? Will they just hook up? I just want them to hook up. It's time. That's all I'm saying. At least we're finally getting the show back, right? At least we're finally getting the show back. So I'm pumped. I can't wait to see it.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. Well, did anybody catch the series premiere of Suits LA this past week? And man, oh man, I'm sure a lot of people are waiting. They're waiting for Harvey, of course, from the original Suits series to be in this specific show. And if you guys didn't know, he's going to be the first of the original cast from the original show to make a cameo in this new series. That's for sure. Now, according to creator Aaron Korsh, he definitely won't be the last time he will be making an appearance, so that's exciting. Now, Korsh says there will be at least one other original Suits character making an appearance as well. Now, that is his goal, to have any cast members from the original series pop up more organically, because, they just don't want to throw it in and have it feel forced.
Exactly.
They don't want to flood it with old Suits characters. Korsh said that he has hopes that it's not advertised when or who may return, because they want it to be a surprise. The element of surprise is so important in the film and television industry. And of course, Harvey's episode is going to draw in a lot of freaking people. But who do we think could be the other character that could jump in?
I have a strong belief I know who it is, and because like Harvey, Harvey's going to start off in New York though, because I guess the first episode of the 3 episodes that is going to be a flashback episode, so it'll be about them in New York. Then he shows up in LA. But my theory of who the other would be, I have 2, and it's actually, as I'm thinking about it, it's 3. 3 potential people. And it only makes sense because of Harvey. We all know that at the end of the original series, Mike and Rachel moved to San Francisco and started their own law firm. And Harvey and Donna left New York and went to work for that law firm. And that law firm, as I said, is in San Francisco, which just happens to be right up the road from LA. So if I had to put money on, it's either Mike, Rachel, or Donna would be the next person that would seem to make, because it's right down the road. Why would we see Lewis? Why would we see Jessica, who's currently in Chicago, if that's still the case? None of those make sense to me. But right up the road totally makes sense. And Meghan Markle would be huge. If it's Rachel, That would be huge, right? If it's Donna, it totally makes sense. We saw Harvey. If it's Mike, it totally makes sense. We saw Harvey. But Rachel, that would be a win for this show. If they could get Meghan Markle to come back and do this, that would be huge. So that's my guess. It's one of those three. Will be the second one to make an appearance. What do you think?
I mean, I would definitely say so. One of the three. I mean, it would be fun to see like a Lewis or like an old villain pop up,
Oh,
like
yeah,
an old
yeah.
the old district attorney guy who is um Harvey's mentor at first, or freaking what was his name? The first guy. But yeah, there's a lot of different people that I think it would be very fun to see pop up because there's so many iconic characters from the original suits. So yeah, it would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. But I do respect Aaron Corse's decision to not force it. I think that's a mistake he made with Pearson, the spinoff with Jessica. He was just plopping them in for no reason. Like Lewis visited, Harvey visited. It's like, she's not a lawyer anymore. She's working for the mayor in Chicago. Why are you even showing up? And I think he learned from that lesson. And so he wants to make sure that these make sense as to why they popped up. So I'm all in on that. I think it's a great idea. You know what else I think is a great idea? And this one has been rumored forever. And now it's finally happening, guys. We're jumping over to Amazon MGM Studios and the Winchesters are back together. Yes, Jared Padalecki, and not just Jared Padalecki, but Misha Collins also. They've apparently joined the 5th and final season of The Boys as guest stars, reuniting with their fellow Supernatural alum, Jensen Ackles, of course. Now, details on their roles are being kept under wraps. Now, The Boys creator, Eric Kripke, aka also Supernatural creator, has long expressed a desire to cast Padalecki on the satirical superhero drama. In addition to Ackles, who plays Soldier Boy, The Boys has also featured Supernatural actors Jim Beaver, playing Robert Singer. Does he always play his own Robert Singer? I don't understand. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who played Joe Kessler, and Rob Benedict, a.k.a. God on Supernatural, playing Splinter. Now, The Boys is currently in production on the 5th and final season, and this has everybody excited. I loved the promo. Ackles is like, Jared, we got work to do. And he's like, and then he's like, let Misha know. And then Misha's like, wait, what? Yeah. Wait, we do? What were? I mean, they're just classic them, right? And Castiel and all. I love this. I think it's going to work really well. It's a great way to send this show out because apparently the 5th and final season. So it's a nice little reunion to send this show out. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I completely agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, there is going to be a Reacher spin-off series centered on Francis Negley at Amazon Prime, and they have added 5 series regulars. Now, it's officially titled Negley, and it will star Gaston Holt as Detective Hudson Riley, Jasper Jones as Keno, Adeline Rudolph as Renee, Matthew Del Negro as Pierce Woodrow, and Damon Herman as Lawrence Cole. Now, the 5 new additions join previously announced series lead Maria Steen, who will reprise the role of Negley from the original Reacher series. It was ordered to series at Amazon back in October of 2024. Now, you are more familiar with this series than I am. Do you think this character has enough willpower and girth to be able to handle their own franchise or their own series?
I sure do. She's a very interesting character on Reacher. She's his go-to. She's his confidant, the trust, the one who's always got his back. And she comes in and out. She's not like his ride or die with him in every episode kind of a thing. It's when he's in trouble, she shows up, she helps him kind of a... She's more than capable, I think, of... Her character will be very interesting in her own world. And what I really liked when they announced this is it will not mess with Reacher. She will still pop in and do what she does with Reacher. Which makes sense because, as I just said, she just pops in and out to help Reacher. So it's not going to be like, why is she not there kind of a thing. So I'm pumped for this. I think it's going to be, and the same people behind it as Reacher. And every season, this show just gets better and better. And what I really like about Alan Richardson is he is perfectionist hardcore about this character. He was like, I was not happy with season 2's fight scenes. I thought they were poorly done. They weren't action enough. It wasn't scary. And I went out and I convinced Amazon to spend a lot of money to get new equipment, new cameras. And now it feels like you're in the fight. You're watching it. And he's like, I'm going to be honest. I got hurt a bunch doing these, but he was so concerned about getting it right and wanting it to be, faithful to the fans and what they want to say. So anytime you get people like that behind it, I think it's going to be a hit. So I'm pumped for this spinoff. I think it's going to do really well. And by the way, the current season is fucking badass. Reacher's just like, that dude's bad. Please, James Gunn, cast him as fucking Batman. He would be so badass as the thick Batman, because he's thick. You can't go into skinny thick Batman. That motherfucker is like dark, thick Batman. But woo, yeah, do it.
Well, we're heading over to Netflix and the streaming giant, man, oh man, we all know that they love comedy and comedy specials. Well, Bert Kreischer, it's a running bit, okay? Kreischer, his next comedy special is going to be titled Lucky, and it will premiere on Netflix on March 18th. Now, the special, Kreischer's fourth for Netflix, features stories about his wife and daughters that are sometimes heartwarming, but also sometimes vulgar, and often both at the same damn time.
There you go.
I'm super excited about it. He's one of my favorite comedians, and I love listening to his podcast, and hopefully, he doesn't die from diabetes because he's a big boy. But it's going to be a great one, that's for sure, and yeah, I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, this guy is not afraid to say what he thinks. And so that always makes comedians entertaining when they're willing to put it out there. Jumping over to finish up industry news over at Apple, and we got a couple of stories for you. Another casting announcement for the Cape Fear television series that's in the works. Apparently, Patrick Wilson is going to join Amy Adams and Javier Bardem in the upcoming series. Now, Wilson's role has yet to be officially disclosed, and if you're not familiar with the name, Wilson is, of course, best known for his roles in the Insidious horror franchise and James Wan's Aquaman movies. He will next be seen in another franchise that he's in frequently, The Conjuring, with the latest installment in that one, The Conjuring Last Rites. So I like him as an actor. He's really good. So this cast is getting interesting. I think this is going to be a pretty intense series.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Completely agree. Well, She-Hulk star Tatiana Maslany will star in the new comedic thriller series Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed.
Oh.
From director David Gordon Green and Apple TV Plus, of course. Now, the darkly funny show follows a newly divorced mom who falls down in a dangerous rabbit hole of blackmail, murder, and youth soccer.
Oh.
Now, the Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed will consist of 10 half-hour episodes, and the series was developed by and will be executive produced by Simon Kinberg and Audrey Chon for their genre films under their first look deal with Apple TV Plus. Again, man, Apple TV always thinking outside of the box with their stories, so always happy to see that.
Oh, totally. And I don't know what this means or doesn't mean for her reappearing in the MCU. I don't know. I'm also
we'll
kind
see
of
about
like,
that one.
they've said that everything is canon in the MCU, right? Like we know that. So that but Charlie Cox revealed recently that when Daredevil Born Again starts off, Matt is in a really dark place. But he was pretty lighthearted and shacking up with She-Hulk. So, what are we talking about? Like, what drove him down the dark hole? Or does it indeed take place before he hooks up with, She-Hulk? I guess we're going to find out. I don't know. I'm excited for her, though. I really think she's a great actress. She was great on Orange is the New Black. And I'm excited for her to just get out there and get seen again, man.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, now it is time for our top 5 segment, man. And this week, it is top 5 favorite movies from our childhood, which is kind of crazy to even think about. And even when you go back and look at both of our lists, like, we didn't really do like actual children's films because we were already so engulfed in our filmmaking mind frame where we just were like, yes, these are it. Because I remember I was in 6th grade for my number 5 pick, and I wanted to see it so damn bad. And I'm talking about Public Enemies with Johnny Depp and our boy Spencer Garrett helping him break out of prison. But I was so excited to see this movie, which is crazy to think about for a 12, 13-year-old child in sixth grade wanting to watch John Dillinger break out of prison and rob banks and be a gangster. But obviously, I've always been obsessed with the gangster mobster culture, and Johnny Depp, who was one of the biggest stars at that time, obviously from Pirates of the Caribbean and so many other films that came out around that time, Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
But I love this film because John Dillinger, who came from the Midwest area, spent a lot of time in Indiana, and has a lot of wishy-washy. Was that him that got killed? Was that not
Yeah,
him that
yeah.
got killed? And this is also a random freaking fact and a random thing. I remember after watching it with my older brothers, and they heard some conspiracy theories that John Dillinger apparently had a big dick. And apparently, after he died, they put it in a mason jar of water and just like let people see it. I don't know why I decided to share that with you all right here, right now, but hey, maybe now you can go research it. But yeah, number five for me, Public Enemies, and it's because there are so many memories correlated with this film, and yeah, it was honestly one of my favorites, still one of my favorites today.
So maybe John Dillinger's big dick is sitting somewhere with Disney's Frozen head. I don't
It
know.
could
I
be.
mean, maybe
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
there's just some weird ass museum that's got all this shit supposedly in it. Which if you can find it, let us know.
Seriously.
What the fuck? I love it. I love it. I'm going to be honest with y'all. This one was a tough one for me because I literally had 5,462 films I could have chosen. Like the 80s, late 70s and 80s were just, I mean, think about all the movies that were out then. I was just racking my brain. I couldn't do it. But I narrowed it down, and I feel bad for all of the ones I left off because I love them all too. But like you, I was kind of in between. I was a teenager for three of mine, and I actually was young for two of my picks, 7 and 8 years old, and and 10 years old. So, my first one though, my number five is Back to the Future trilogy. I mean, that was the most epic, badass set of movies back in 85, 87, 89 type thing. And I remember the final two they shot back to back, and then it was only a couple of months difference that they played them. One was in like late summer, one was early October, so it wasn't too long in between the sequels. But this has so much history to it, you guys. Eric Stoltz was originally supposed to be the lead, and then things just weren't going, and they weren't happy with him, and Michael J. Fox replaced him, and the rest is history. And it's got a young Leah Thompson, and I mean, come on, Christopher Lloyd as Doc. I mean, everything about this movie rocked. But the thing, it's the DeLorean, right? And then the other thing was, how much did they get right? Because when they're talking about 1985 and going back to the future, how much did they guess right about what the future would be like? They had hoverboards. They got that one right. They had a couple of things that they were spot on actually did happen, and then others that were just like not even close. But that made it fun. That made the whole thing. But for me as a kid watching this stuff as a teenager, it was Marty. Marty was like, Michael J. Fox, he was everybody's teenager, right? That's who everybody wanted to be. If you didn't want to be Alex P. Keaton, you wanted to be Marty. And both were Michael J. Fox, so he had you covered in the 80s. I loved this film. I liked that it was set in the 50s. I liked that it was set in the current time of the 80s. I liked that we went back to the 1800s. That was a really interesting twist to go back to the Old West. Just everything about it. It was really original and creative, and the casting was brilliant. And yeah, Back to the Future trilogy. If you haven't seen it, what? I don't even know what to say if you haven't seen it. But check it out. You'll love it. No big dicks in any jars, though. Not that I'm aware of. Biff,
Not that
maybe.
you're aware of.
Maybe Biff. I don't know. If there was one that would do it, it was probably Biff, but I don't know.
Yeah, no. Oh my goodness. Well, number four for me goes to Lawless. Of course, another like gangster mafia type thing. This is like backwoods gangster though, like hillbillies running moonshine in the depressional age, late 1920s into the early 1930s. It's got Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy. And I mean, they're both just, massively successful characters at our actors at this time. It came out in like 2012, I think, so
Yeah.
my freshman year. And I guess there's a lot of behind the scenes stories of Tom and Shia like wrestling and falling downstairs and trying to assert their dominance and things like that. So that's hilarious. But Lawless, I think, is a fun movie to watch because it's built off of family who is trying to just move past what they're doing, I guess you could, or like move past like old habits that die young
Yeah.
type thing. So I always enjoy watching this film because, everybody's just trying to grow and better their life. And this is kind of what the main protagonist was trying to do in this film. But yeah, number four for me, Lawless.
So good, man. So good. Yeah, I love your gangster theme throughout. You're consistent with, you can tell just like right where you go, and I love that.
Always.
My number four is another trilogy because I couldn't possibly pick one out of this. I was a wee youngin' when these came out. I'm not. I hate to admit that I'm that old, but it's true. I wasn't even 10 yet. I'm talking about, of course, Star Wars. Episode 4, which we found out a gazillion years later that it was actually 4 in the 9. We thought, hey, it's just Star Wars, but we learned. And then it was renamed Star Wars A New Hope when it became Episode 4. It was just Star Wars when it came out. But of course, I mean, this game changer. When you're a young kid and you're seeing this stuff go down, you're terrified of Darth Vader. You're not quite sure about Chewbacca. You want to like him, but you're probably scared as hell of him too. You don't see the big hairy thing go, wah! When you're 7, you're like, fuck, is that thing going to be in my dreams tonight? Because I don't want that shit. But it's just a space epic odyssey that redefined everything. It was groundbreaking special effects, the storytelling. It was the young hero that you were hoping would get the girl, and you got the tough, gruff guy that's trying to take the girl from him, and then the bad guy, that you're terrified of. Just the whole thing, good versus evil kind of a thing. It was so brilliantly done, and I remember the marketing behind that. Even as a 7 and 8 year old, I remember very distinctly the marketing behind this thing and the push to make it the huge, epic thing that it became. It was massive, and so it was hard not to put these films on the list. They were spread out nice, like I think it was 77, 78 for the first Star Wars, and then early 1980, I think, for The Empire Strikes Back, 83 for the Return of the Jedi. So I basically was between 7 and 8 to 13, which is an interesting growth period for those 3 movies, because a 13-year-old's way different than a 7-year-old, right? So it's like even how I viewed these things was different by the time we got to the 3rd one. So it was a very entertaining little trilogy for me to kind of grow up with, and they're always a favorite. I consistently go back and watch all 9 of them, and now that you see how they play out, and it's always, I love it. And come on, as a young guy, I mean, Leia in the bikini. That was every boy's fantasy. If you were between 10 and 13, Carrie Fisher in that bikini in Return of the Jedi was like everybody's fantasy. I'm just going to say it. It's hard not to put that one on the list, my friends. Number 4, the Star Wars trilogy.
There you go, man. There you go. Number 3, I've talked about extensively on the show, and I'm talking about Warrior. This one came out in 2011, and it's got Tom Hardy as well, Joel Edgerton, Nick Nolte, and the theme of the film is basically 2 boxing brothers who have an alcoholic father who have always just wanted to fight for his love. They wanted to have, all of the attention and try to just feel their father's love. And I feel like I really enjoyed this film, especially at that current day and time, because I have a brother who I felt like we were kind of doing that. We would always try to compete for our father's attention, our father's love. So it definitely struck a nerve and hit home
No doubt.
on that front. But I mean, it's such a great movie. Like I said, I've talked about this one a lot, so I don't want to go too much into detail. But if y'all have not seen this film, please do yourself a favor and watch it. It's got an 8.1 out of 10 ranking on IMDb, so it's definitely worth the watch. And yeah, yeah, be sure to check it out. Number three for me, Warrior.
Hell yes, phenomenal film, great to have on the list. You can't argue a single thing you said about that. My my number three gave everybody the Need for Speed. Everybody went out and bought the aviator glasses. Everybody started calling each other Goose. And if you knew you were never getting behind the handle of a plane, you drove your car like you were a fucking fighter pilot. I'm, of course, talking about Top Gun. I mean, come on. I'm 16 years old. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Full-on fighter action. It's just so badass. It was such an amazingly well-done movie that the United States Navy used it as a recruiting tool, and they saw the biggest recruitment of people into the Navy because of this film. They literally had recruitment tables set up outside the theater, so when people walked out, they were signing them up. It was like anything I've ever seen before. They would literally walk out and sign up, enlist into the Navy. And I'm like, you understand you're probably never going to be a fighter pilot. But hey, you just gave away 4 years of your life. Like, what the fuck? It was so good, though. It was so good. It had so much. Meg Ryan was huge at that point. Goose, Anthony Edwards, huge at that point from Revenge of the Nerds. Tom Cruise, who was riding high from All the Right Moves and Risky Business, and just like, he was the go-to guy at that point. And Val Kilmer, of course, Iceman. It's just everything about it, epic. Just epic. It's the kind of action film that you want, and it delivered on every aspect of it. When you're a 16-year-old kid, it's like, that's what you want to go see. That's what gets you fired up. That's what gets you wanting to, like, just go out and have the time of your life. Like, I felt like everybody wanted to be Maverick because he just didn't give a shit. He was responsible and great, but he did what he wanted to do and was reckless. And I feel like it set the tone for so many teenagers in that era. It's like, that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be reckless. I'm going to fucking fly inverted, and I'm going to do crazy shit, and it's all going to work out. And it also saw a huge increase in karaoke for You Never Close Your Eyes. Everybody started singing that shit because that was an epic scene in the movie. And as you guys know, obviously, I mean, Top Gun Maverick, nailed it. Came right up and followed up on this one. But that one doesn't happen without the original, the OG right here. My number three, Top Gun. Like, just epic. Just epic. Can't do anything about it.
Definitely is, man. Definitely is. Felt the need for speed all through the 80s. That's for sure. Number two for me goes to Moneyball, also released in 2011.
Yes.
And of course, Brad Pitt being one of my favorite actors. Jonah Hill is also in this thing, a young Jonah Hill, where we start to see more of his dramatic chops. Because if you guys don't remember, Jonah Hill came on the scene being very much in the comedy space. But I think Moneyball was one of the first films that really started to show his range that he had and being able to be a dramatic actor. But I loved this film because it really represented a father who was just trying to balance everything at once, trying to be a good dad to his young daughter while also trying to save an organization that was garbage at the time. And it's kind of inspired by a true story because they did kind of implement this new drafting strategy for baseball players to try to use like a numeric system and a percentage system to how many times they get on base or how many times they actually make contact with the ball. So it's very interesting to put yourself in that situation and think about how they were able to come up with this new drafting scheme, which the Oakland A's still use today and other baseball organizations still use today. But it is a very inspiring story. It's a redemption story to where, even if you're down and out and feel like you're in a rut, you can still overcome it and be successful no matter if you put your mind to it. But it's another great freaking film that everyone should watch. Number two, I think it was number
Yep.
two for me. Moneyball.
I love that. It's a great, and you bring up it was his kind of first foray into the dramatic side, right? But it was also there were a lot of stories about the relationship that him and Brad Pitt had developed, because
Yeah.
this is the first time we started to see Jonah Hill thin or thinner, and it's because Brad Pitt was really on him about, hey, why not you? You can be in shape. You can be this guy. And they really he mentored and kind of really got behind Jonah trying to get thin and healthy. And so even, when you hear behind the scenes stories like that, that's awesome. Right? That you can, hey, you can be a dramatic actor and an action star, and we can get you where you want to be and do these things. And I just love hearing stories like that. So that's a great pick. That's a awesome pick for number two. My number two, it's probably it's on my list as one of the greatest movies of all time. There's no doubt about it. It's a rite of passage movie. If you're a teenager, you cannot become an adult until you see this movie. You have to see it to become an adult. That's just the way it is. It's a rite of passage. And I am, of course, talking about The Breakfast Club. Do I have to say anything about this film? Everybody has seen it. If you're a teenager and who hasn't seen it, you're going to, because it is that film. It stands up. It holds to the test of time. What they go through is the same thing everybody goes through at that age now. The setting might be different. The things that they're dealing with might be different, but the tone, the relationships, the struggles, it's all the same as today. That's why I'm saying it holds up to the test of time, and it is a coming-of-age movie and a rite of passage to get you to adulthood. I think it should be mandatory. I think it should be like a high school film that used to be Romeo and Juliet. It should be fucking Breakfast Club now. You should have to watch Breakfast Club before you can graduate. It's that good. And every one of us, let's be honest about it, every one of us is one of them, right? You're either the jock, you're either the thug, you're the, you are one of them. There's no way that you're not. So it's just, yeah, I can't say anything else about it. You know the movie. You love the movie. Everybody loves the movie. The Breakfast Club, my number two. And if you've got kids, make them watch it. Just make them watch it.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Well, number one for me was at one point in time my favorite film of all time, and I was obsessed with this thing because I thought it was so cool. It was right when Bradley Cooper, I felt like, was coming into the mainstream after his success from The Hangover. And I'm talking about Limitless in 2011. 2011 apparently was a big year for me in movies.
Yeah.
And I thought this was awesome too because it reteamed Silver Linings Playbook with alum with Robert De Niro, because Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper were in that film as well. This film has a very interesting premise because we all know that humans in general can only access a percentage of their brain capability, but this film explores the idea of being able to completely open up that access and have limitless possibilities for your brain function. And it's always very interesting to see, but it also is like it's an addicting story that it's a beautiful addiction, but you can tell that sometimes beautiful addictions turn into bad addictions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this film tries to portray. But yeah, it's so super entertaining. I never watched the television series though, to be honest,
it
which
sucked.
is, but the film is where it's at. So if you haven't seen the film, please be sure to do so. My number one goes to Limitless.
Oh, without doubt. Phenomenal film, groundbreaking in the sense that it was unlike anything before told. The story was very unique and interesting, and obviously, like you said, Bradley Cooper just killing it. But yeah, they had Bradley Cooper make a couple of appearances on the show to try to help sell it, but it just was not good. They should have never even tried that. It was a magical movie that you should not have touched. Clear example of one of those things, just don't touch it. Leave it alone.
Right.
My number one, should come as no surprise to anybody who listens to this show or knows me or anything. I was 8 years old. I talk about this all the time, so I don't even have to go in depth in it. Superman the movie / Superman 2, because in my eyes, it's really just all one big film as it was meant to be. This is the movie, as I've said time and time again, that inspired me to be a filmmaker, that made me want to make magic, that made me want to tell stories that mattered and entertained. It's still the granddaddy of them all, the one they all aspire to be. James Gunn's new DC universe, the Marvel, they all aspire to be this. This is the one you have to match. And there's a reason for that, because it was brilliant storytelling. And I don't know if we will ever see, and don't get me wrong, Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man, Tony Stark, brilliant, right? I mean, there's been some but I don't know if we will ever see anybody capable of doing what Christopher Reeve did with Clark Kent / Superman, and how he pulled off that character. It was just, I don't think we're ever going to see it again. I just, no matter what. Yeah, just brilliant. And the late, great Gene Hackman, of course, was Lex Luthor in this film and this film series. And I don't think it would have been the same without him. And I wasn't even a huge fan of his version of Lex Luthor, but I just don't think these films work without him. So, yeah, my number one, Superman the movie / Superman 2. And the only thing I would follow that up with is, if you haven't seen the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, make sure that's the one you watch, because that's the legit continuation of Superman the movie and the way it was meant to be told. So, yeah, check those out.
For sure, man. For sure. Well, we want to know, what is your favorite movie from your childhood? Give us a list. Please be sure to comment below down in the comments section. Add us on Twitter, X, Threads, all the good places, because we love the fan interaction, and this is a fun one. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're heading over to the box office recap. Like we said last week, or this week, about last week, Captain America did come in at number 1, but it did have that massive drop off. It had $28 million. The Monkey came in at number 2 with $14 million. Paddington in Peru came in at number 3 with $6.5 million. Dogman came in at number 4 with $5.9 million. And number 5 was Nizatu with $4.4 million. That was playing nowhere near me, and I've never even heard of that one, so good for them.
It was playing here, and I gotta say, though, if you've noticed over the last maybe year or so, we're seeing a lot of South Asia Indian movies making it into our top 5s. They're infiltrating, and it seems like every other month we're talking about one of these Indian films making it in. That's great. That's I mean, that's awesome to see. But you're right. Unfortunately, they're not being played at a lot of cinemas. Even more so to make it into the top 5 is impressive.
Exactly. Completely agree, man. Completely agree. But we do have some new movies coming out this week that you might go see. Who knows? My Dead Friend Zoe, A Sloth Story, Last Breath, Riff Raff, and I Heart Willie. And then, of course, movies you can still go see are Flight Risk, Love Hurt, Becoming Led Zeppelin, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, and, of course, a couple of different ones in select theaters near you. But be sure to check them out, man. Be sure to check them out. And then, of course, heading over to the IMDbpro's top trending segment. The top trending movie is The Gorge.
Yep.
The top trending television show is The White Lotus. And the top trending star is Amy Lou Wood, who I'm assuming is from The White Lotus.
Yeah, correct. And The Gorge is that one with Miles Teller and Anya Joy Taylor on Apple right now.
Yeah, that one looked interesting.
It does. And for anybody out there about I Heart Willie, remember we told you a few months back that the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse went into public domain, meaning anybody can use them anytime they want to. Disney can't do it. It's the next horror movie in those. Remember that weird fucking horror movie with Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and shit where they're serial killers? Well, that's the next one. This I Heart Willie, he's a fucking serial killer Mickey Mouse. And it's like terrifying. Like, I can't believe we're seeing this, but this is what happens when things go into public domain, y'all.
Yeah, I do want to see that one, though.
I kind of do, too. I mean, it's like, it's terrifying. Think about a jacked up Mickey Mouse looking like Popeye with Mickey's face, with, killing people. I don't know, but okay. Sure.
It's so
Sure.
funny, man. It's so funny. Well, we have to thank you, our listeners, for listening to episode 286 of ITCAF Podcast. Of course, you all know you can follow us at ITCAF Podcast on all social media accounts. And then, of course, our mental health podcast, Everything's OKP, on social media accounts. We've been getting a lot of love this past week for the manifesting episode we did on that podcast. So be sure to check that one out as well. We've got another great episode coming out here soon about emotional burnout. So be sure to check that out. And we do have guests coming back to this show, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I know a lot of people loved The Way Home on Peacock and Hallmark Channel. So we decided to bring more people from that show onto our podcast. So stay tuned for that next week. We're super freaking excited about it. And then, of course, you guys know you can follow us personally on social media. Myself at J Logan Austin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
There it is. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, we appreciate it. Hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear, because we have a little bit of something for a little bit of everyone.
Yes, we do.
That is for sure. But man, what a great episode. As a comic book fan and a superhero fan, it really was freaking awesome. And then the amazing cast that Dexter Resurrection is putting together, I think this show is going to be crazy. And I mean, I would love if it was not just that one-off season miniseries. I would love if they would continue doing it for maybe like 2 or 3 more seasons, but we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, I want to send a shout out to everybody participating in Mardi Gras celebrations this weekend. Be safe, have fun, and just let the good times roll. That's for sure.
Yeah, without doubt. No matter where you are, you know, it's nice to see too that Mardi Gras is spreading like everywhere. Everybody thinks it started like in New Orleans. It did not, right? But it's up here in North Carolina. It's over in Georgia. It's like, it seems like everywhere is now celebrating Mardi Gras. But I echo what you said. Let's not see another tragic event. Let's not, just be aware, be safe, pay attention to your surroundings, and just, let's keep it there. Have fun. Do Mardi Gras the way you're supposed to do Mardi Gras, but for goodness sake, just be responsible about it. And, because I hate always telling about those stories. You know what I mean? I know you do too.
Yeah, it can be crazy, man. It absolutely can be crazy. But of course, crazy is in the name. And you guys know we're crazy, but we also have a lot of love, a lot of crazy love for the one, the only Oprah!